right now, Elon is, cleaning out the government, firing people who are inefficient. Maybe, take a good look at Tesla Solar and fire those fucking people who have no idea what they are doing and who are wasting our time and money at the end of the day, because now we produce zero energy with a system that we paid for in cash. Our Tesla Solar system has been an absolute fucking nightmare. And so in this video, I want to share our story with our Tesla system, including solar panels and batteries, explain what didn't work, what has been working, and tell you whether or not we'll do Tesla Solar again on our next property, where we're going to move to shortly, because we still want to be independent and have power in case the grid goes away temporarily or permanently. Let's dive right in and let me tell you the story of that nightmare that has been the Tesla solar system for us. So in March of 2021, we placed an order for a solar system combined with, Powerwalls, the Tesla batteries. And we wanted to have an alternative energy source in case the grid goes down, because just before that, we had lost power for 3 days, and that was a nightmare. We had to move freezers, and we actually lost a couple of 100 pounds worth of meat in one of our freezers, and we absolutely wanted to avoid that in the future. So we said, you know what, instead of getting a generator, let's do something where we can produce really our own energy, so we are not dependent on a source of propane or natural gas from the municipality. So we decided on solar panels. We placed the order in March of 2021, and I thought we would get installed within a couple of months, or at least within the same year, because at that time there was still a solar tax rebate going on that would then phase out over years, where every year, later you would get less of a tax credit. So we were hoping we'd get that system installed in 2021. Well, it did not happen. It also did not happen in 2022. It took until April of 2023 to get the system installed. And one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, were because Tesla started selling solar panels and the batteries in states, we're here in Georgia, where they had no infrastructure in place and not even the permits to get that installed. So we placed the order at a time when Tesla was not ready. We did not necessarily know that. Later on, we kind of figured out that, there is still ongoing paperwork. We were one of the first systems to be installed, etc. Anyway, April 2023, we finally got it installed by a crew that was flown in from New York. So they did not have any installers in Georgia at the time, but I figured, well, by the time issues creep up, maybe years down the line, Tesla will have the appropriate support personnel, at least in the state. Well, spoiler alert, they still don't, and it's February of 2025 now. Anyway, our goal was, and that was the specification, to design a system by Tesla that would cover 100% of our current and future power needs. So they looked at the past 12 months or so of energy consumption, and then we told them, well, we're going to have a Tesla car, and we're likely going to have a second electric car. At the time, I wanted to get the F-150 Lightning, and so we told them 2 electric cars and whatever we have, in current consumption, that combined should give you a framework of the size system we need. And the other specification was that we wanted to have 3 days worth of backup in case the power goes out. Because of those 3 days where we didn't have power in the past, we figured where we live, it's probably not going to be longer than 3 days. We live, we are not in the sticks anywhere. We are fairly close to, major cities. So 3 days should be enough. And the system they designed initially would, or at least they told us, would cover those specifications and provide 3 to 7 days of backup with 3 of those Powerwalls in case of an outage. And I said, well, that's great. 3 to 7 days, because it depends on, the time of the year, the angle of the sun, how much sun is shining on a given day. So, but 3 to 7 days, we figured that should be plenty. At some point during the whole process, when they engaged with Georgia Power, etc., it turned out that Georgia Power wanted to limit system sizes so that we always buy at least some electricity from them. We cannot be making money by selling excess solar energy to the grid without consuming anything. That was a requirement for their net metering. Net metering basically means that you can sell excess energy back to the grid. And I said, well, you know what? I want to forfeit the net metering. I'm not interested in selling anything back. I want to have a system that's large enough so we can cover ourselves 100% and not ever sell anything back to the grid. And I said, okay, we can do that. We can increase the system size to 11 point something, kilowatts. I'm like, okay, just looking at the rough numbers that seem to be making sense, but I had no idea exactly what, the limitations or some of the fine print and nuances of solar power. Anyway, in April 2023, we finally went live. Everything was working, super happy, but then we started noticing that, well, we only making, even when the sun was, as we got closer to summer, we only made generated 7.6 kilowatts, not 11 point something that we were told. And so I, called support, and they told us, well, the inverter that you have, that, piece of equipment that basically takes the energy produced by the solar panels and turns it into, AC energy for the grid and for the batteries, has a limit of 7.6 kilowatts. So you cannot produce any more with the inverter you have. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding, right? But, what are you gonna do at this point? Add more panels. I mean, our roof is only so big, so I'm not sure if that would have been an option. But even then, we would have to get another inverter and redesign the system. It was already the first major disappointment when we figured out that our system is actually not as big as we wanted it to be, because we realized even on the best of days, we would only generate about 70% to 80% of our energy needs, not more. We never reached 100%, and that was disappointing. Now, the even greater disappointment was the first time we had a power outage that lasted for a couple of hours only, fortunately. But the forecast in the Tesla app that said how long the batteries would last was like 10 hours, 11 hours. So a far cry from the 3 to 7 days, even though the batteries were 80% full. And even if they were 100% full, we would have never gotten close to 3 days. And we turned everything off, including the AC. And we still got maybe a day worth of backup, not 3 and certainly not 7. I'm like, okay, now we have a system that's not big enough, even though we were promised to get a design that would cover all of our needs. And we are a far cry from the backup that we asked for, that, to be at least 3 days. We didn't have that. Now, looking back now it's 2025, looking back at 2024, just to give you a rough estimate, we generated 11 megawatt hours of energy using our solar system. We imported from the grid 15 megawatt hours. So that means we actually generated less than 50% of our energy demands and had to buy the rest, even though the system was supposed to be designed to cover us 100%. So, from a money savings perspective, forget it. You're not going to be saving any money. But again, for us, it was more the backup, but not even that didn't really pan out. But I'm like, okay, we have now what we have. In the future, we're going to design a bigger system. I know more about now. I can tell, I can specify exactly how many panels I want to need, how many batteries I'm going to need. I'm not going to rely on the calculations of someone else. I'll do it myself. For now, we'll live with what we have. Chances are, if we can get a day of backup and the sun is out again, we should be fine. We usually don't have a whole lot of multi-day power outages where we live. So we should be roughly fine. Now, at the end of December of 2024, I went into the Tesla app, and usually, since we have the car and the solar system, and you have to swipe back and forth between those two, depending on what you want to manage. We are typically on that screen with the car, because the car we use every day. The solar system, at this point, I don't care anymore how much we generate. We generate what we generate. We use what we use. There is nothing, that I have to monitor on a daily basis or check or change or whatever. So we are never on that screen. But at some point in December, I noticed that it said that the gateway or the Powerwall was offline. And I'm like, well, not connected to Wi-Fi. I'm used to stuff not being connected to Wi-Fi, like our HomeKit, light switches, whatever. They are disconnected from Wi-Fi all the time because shit doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. If it's connected or not, as long as it's working, that's all good. Unfortunately, I did not anticipate that being offline meant dead. It took me until actually early January, I think, of 2025, when I said, you know what, I'm going to reconnect it to Wi-Fi now, because there was a winter storm coming up that we knew about. I'm like, I want to make sure everything is fine and we get the warnings and the system is ready, because typically when there is a storm warning, it charges the batteries, etc. So I'm like, I want to make sure that all is taken care of. I walk outside and I notice the batteries are all dead. Nothing is working. I reset the breaker here in the house, nothing is working. So I open a ticket with Tesla and I say, hey guys, our system is dead. It doesn't have power, and so I'm on the phone with that, or in a chat with the Tesla support, and I say, well, here is a link to reconnect to Wi-Fi. I'm like, dude, are you fucking shitting me? I told you the system is dead, doesn't have power. I cannot reconnect anything to Wi-Fi if it has no juice. right? And it took forever. And he's like, well, we have to go through the troubleshooting steps, even though, and I'm like, dude, let's skip to the point where you send someone out to inspect the system, because it doesn't make sense to look for to try to reconnect it to Wi-Fi if it doesn't have power. Let's skip that bullshit. I don't have time to waste. Anyway, I got really upset with that guy. He said he's going to escalate it and whatever. And then, have to wait. So a week later, nothing has happened. I called back in and I said, well, the ticket was filed incorrectly by that previous support agent, and there is something second level needs to take a look at it. I'm like, okay, please guys, take a look at it. And they told me it can take up to 3 weeks for someone to get back to me. I'm like, and in that call, the guys told me that, did you know that your system was offline since November of 2024? I'm like, what? No, I did not know that, but thanks for letting me know, and thanks for not notifying me in a different way other than saying the gateway is offline or the Powerwall is offline, because that can mean a lot of things. Anyway, so I'm waiting 20 days and I get an email saying the ticket has been closed and here are instructions to reconnect the Powerwall to Wi-Fi. And I fucking lost it. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I already told you it's not Wi-Fi. So I reopened the ticket, yell at the dude on the phone, and as well, I'm sorry, the agent must have been new, whatever, it seems like the battery is dead. Someone needs to jump the battery, kind of like a car. I'm like, great, let's do that. I said, yeah, okay, you're gonna get an email to schedule the on-site visit, basically. I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting again, weeks pass by, nothing happened. I call in again, said, well, we actually need to replace that Powerwall, or at least the gateway, and so someone needs to come out to do that. I'm like, great. When is that going to happen? Well, you get a notification. So I wait again. In the app, nothing is happening. Then I finally get an email saying that please schedule your service appointment using the app. I go into the app, and where it says, pick the date, it says no dates available. Contact customer support. I'm like, you guys got to be fucking me. So I call them again. And if you don't call them first thing in the morning, the wait is forever. So made a reminder, set myself a reminder to call them first thing in the morning. I called them and they said, well, the problem is we don't really have any technicians in your state. So someone needs to fly in. I'm like, okay, when is that going to happen? Well, they don't know. They've escalated the ticket now, and someone will reach out to me whenever they have someone to fly into Georgia to fix that problem. Now it's February 13th. We've been offline since November of 2024. We are still waiting at that appointment for someone to come out. We know that they don't have anyone on site. We know also that in November, when that last support agent who was more knowledgeable looked into the logs all the way back, there was apparently some sort of power surge. I don't know how that could have happened because we have a whole home surge protector. But anyway, something has happened that, made that system fry or go dead. And yeah, now we are waiting. We have not had any solar panels functioning solar panels since November. So we had Tesla come out finally after weeks and weeks and weeks of waiting because they don't have any technicians in Georgia. They had to fly them in apparently. So they came out and determined that the gateway has to be replaced, which is something we already knew weeks ago when I was struggling with them on the phone. But nonetheless, someone came out, they placed the order for this gateway because the problem really is that this gateway is not providing any power to the underlying battery, and that's why the battery isn't working. Well, I guess we'll have to wait longer, and hopefully at some point we'll get that whole thing up and running again. It's February 28th today, and we've been offline since November of 2024. So it's April 3rd today. Tesla came out to replace the gateway yesterday. Of course, yesterday then, nothing still, it was apparently connected on the back end, but we couldn't see anything on the front end. The Tesla app didn't work, didn't show any production. So the guy came back out again, told me that apparently during the registration process, some tag wasn't set and needs to be fixed, and they did, and we should have, activity showing in the Tesla app momentarily. Well, it's the afternoon now of that morning where I was told that, and it's still not working. I just spent 40 minutes on the phone with Tesla support again. And they told me that, well, we'll have to wait tomorrow because it takes a while for stuff, because data is not moving at the speed of light at Tesla, apparently. Stuff takes time, months in some cases, it appears like. So we'll wait until tomorrow and see if we have our system finally back up or if the saga continues. The Tesla saga is finally over, but not because Tesla figured it out, but because I did it myself, fortunately. So here is what happened on the last day. Yesterday they told me just wait another day and it'll fix itself. Well, nothing fixed itself, obviously. Nothing is ever going to fix itself. So I went back to the gateway And I'm like, I'm gonna connect to the gateway directly, you know. I connect to the Wi-Fi of the gateway and then type in the IP address and see what pops up. And, you know, a page popped up for me to log in, but my Tesla credentials didn't work. And the page suggested me to download the Tesla One app. I'm like, never heard of that, but I'm gonna do that. I downloaded the app and it said it's for Tesla employees and installers only. I'm like, well, I'm gonna try it out. So I downloaded the app, I logged in, and I could log in with my own Tesla account. And I saw the whole system, and I saw a warning that the gateway is offline. So I walk over to the breaker box that Tesla installed, and I noticed the breaker had jumped. So I disabled it completely, re-enabled it. The gateway came back online, and it did some self-test and whatever, and now we're back online. They couldn't have told me that yesterday, you know. Anyway, the Tesla saga is over. Our solar system is working again. I'm grateful that it is working again. The Tesla experience has kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. That's it. All done. We know that the system produces only half of what we wanted. We know that we only get a fraction of the backup battery support that we wanted. Customer support is absolutely a fucking clown show. Most of those people don't even know what they are doing. They're just reading off a script. I felt like, you know, I was calling in with Windows 95 support, and, you know, they told me reboot your computer, kind of even, you know, knowing what the problem exactly was, meaning the system was dead. It's a pain in the ass to get a hold of them. It's a pain in the ass to get someone actually out here. Here in Georgia, it's a fucking pain in the ass. But yeah, so that's our experience. Now, we're about to move. We're in the way of, or in the process of constructing a new home on our new homestead. And we're gonna do solar again. Are we gonna do Tesla solar again? I don't know. I'm obviously realized that Tesla has the better or the best battery technology. So I'm inclined of saying we might want to do the Powerwalls, etc. again. I mean, their panels are not from Tesla. They are a third party anyway. That just Tesla happens to source. But are we going to use Tesla to install everything and maintain everything? I don't think so, because they are incompetent here in Georgia, at least. But let me know what experience you've had. You know, do you have Tesla solar panels and batteries? Have you had an issue with them? If so, how was interacting with customer support? Let me know in the comments, because I'm really interested. I know our experience has been fucking frustrating. I would not recommend Tesla solar panels and batteries here in Georgia unless you know someone from the company that you can call up and say, hey, I have a problem, let's get it fixed. But let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this rant, give it a thumbs up. Share with someone who might be in the market for solar panels and who is considering Tesla. Might be good for them to hear what we have to say, how our experience has been. And until next time.